Hello all, just finished watching She-Hulk episode 4 and I didn't hate it. It's pretty meaningless, but there were some amusing moments, or rather two relatively amusing extras in the show. First off, the quick breakdown. It starts off with a character called Donny Blaze, who's a dickhead bloke, doing a magic show, and he's kind of doing a half-assed magic show. He's not getting much of a reaction, so his friend tells him to do the trick. He pulls out a sling ring, uses it to open a portal to a death dimension after getting a volunteer up. This is Madison, and she's actually quite funny. She's kind of a ditzy, alcoholic woman. Bit of a stereotype, but isn't most of the things in this show. So when you look through the portal, it looks like dark, dank, medieval England, and it's a death dimension. Next thing you know, a portal opens at Kamatage in Wong's room. Madison walks through and interrupts Wong's viewing of The Sopranos. We then switch to Jen's apartment, where she talks about the fact that Wong's back in the show. Isn't that exciting for everyone? Because everyone loves Wong. I mean, this show is basically built on the special guests, because the main characters are not particularly interesting. Even She-Hulk's not that interesting, and everyone else is just kind of a cardboard cutout, really. Jen's dad turns up. He's heard about her being attacked, so he's come to help beef up her security. She's kind of dismissive. I mean, she's not dismissive of him. She's grateful, but she's dismissive of the idea of beefing up security because she's She-Hulk. He sort of says, "What did the police say?" And she said, "I didn't report it to the police." Okay, what was the whole conversation in that first episode about men and stuff? And you didn't even bother reporting it to the police. Zip across now to Jen's office, where she's finishing a profile for a dating site. Her friend, legal assistant, whatever she is talking to her about it. And then Wong turns up. And obviously Wong's an idiot because he wants the legal system to stop Donny, who is a former student, from using magic. You're the Sorcerer Supreme. Your job is to deal with mystic threats. Why are you going to Jen Walters to do this? It's your literal job, and he makes it very clear how dangerous it is. And yet his response is to go to a lawyer. It's kind of stupid. Turns out he's got no legal recourse, because of course he hasn't got legal recourse. Apparently Donny was a temporary student at Kamatage, but he exploited use of the sling ring. Next scene, she's talking to her friend about the fact that she's got the whole Emil Blonsky case, and she's sitting there looking at it, and her friend's like, "Oh my god, you're excited by that." In comes douchey bloke to try and talk to them, obviously using douchey bloke language. This show is so full of stereotypes, it's crazy. They chase him off, then start talking about the dating profile Jen's done, and her friend suggests she creates a profile under She-Hulk. Jen says, "I didn't think you liked She-Hulk." Her friend says, "Oh, I'm getting used to it, it's catchy." When do we find out that her friend doesn't like She-Hulk? When did that happen? Don't recall that conversation at all. In fact, she was the one encouraging her to be She-Hulk all the time. Strange. Wong and She-Hulk go to speak to Donny, and Donny's business partner friend, I don't know what he is, it's not really defined. Him and his friend are actually quite amusing together. Quite a nice little back and forth between them. But there's a really weird bit where Donny says to Wong, "Are you afraid of a bit of competition?" And Wong says he's the master of mystic arts. He doesn't engage in competition. I've got to ask, do these writers even watch their own show? Didn't they notice the bit where Wong was engaging in competition with the Abomination? He went to a fight club in Hong Kong and took part in a competition. I mean, it's a tiny little thing and you could think it's nitpicking, but it's basically stupid. They also seem to have forgotten that Wong broke the Abomination out of jail and is a wanted criminal, but he's going to a lawyer and appears in court. Do they not even know what they're writing on this show? So now we see Jen on a date that she matched with, and he's a douchebag. Obviously, next douchebag. He's looking at other women, he's on his phone, not interested, and then he basically stiffs her with the bill. This show is definitely not anti-male. Definitely not. Oh, why are people saying that? It's crazy. That was sarcasm in case anyone didn't notice. So the court case goes badly, because obviously dealing with the mystic arts is Wong's fucking job, not a court of law. Wong summons Madison, who, again, she's quite amusing. She comes in drunk, talking nonsense, explains what happens to her in quite a comical way, but obviously not a reliable witness. So the judge doesn't really rule, but kind of says, you've got no case. She's got to consider. She-Hulk says, well, can we have a cease and desist temporarily? And then Donnie, his lawyer, and his friends start doing magic tricks and say, you can't stop me doing this, which enchants the judge, and she says, fine. I know I've said before I have a problem with there not being proper legal procedures, but that whole bit is played for laughs, and sometimes you've got to give it an inch. Jen now sends a profile out as She-Hulk. She gets loads and loads of matches, and then we have a procession of douchey blokes. Shocker. Until finally she meets the good-looking chap, who's the doctor, and he's a bit creepy. Don't know what they thought when they were writing him. He's kind of like said, oh, I talk about myself all the time, I want to talk about you. It really sounded like he was running a con. It was very, very odd. It's just strange that the writers seem to think that is how a nice bloke would talk. I genuinely thought this guy was going to turn out to be nothing. He just wanted to get laid. But no, apparently he was sincere, but he spoke in the most insincere way possible. It just seemed completely fake, everything he said. She-Hulk then goes a little bit creepy as well, because the minute he says, oh, let's talk about you, she's getting wet. It's kind of like, is that all it takes? Really? You do sometimes have to wonder if these writers have ever experienced real life. So flash to Donnie doing another show and doing the sling ring trick. The girl who he's performing for, let's not do that, because last time he did that, my friend ended up stuck in a car park in the middle of nowhere. So he does another trick, conjures up a dove, the dove lays an egg on the girl's hands, and a demon comes out of the egg. Donnie conjures another portal to get rid of the demon, but the portal leads to a demon dimension, and the demons just all flood through. Donnie then portals himself to Wong, asks for help. Wong leaps through and tells Donnie to ring his lawyer. Back to the date. She-Hulk is ignoring her phone as it's ringing. The chap spills wine on himself, takes his top off and goes to get something to clean it up. And obviously he's too good to be true. This is the problem. He's too good to be true. It just doesn't feel sincere. When he comes back, his top's gone because She-Hulk's thrown it over the sofa. And it's like, this is predatory behaviour right now. She ignores the phone again. Finally, Wong opens a portal. She goes through to fight the demons. Bit of a fight. They throw the demons through to some snowy landscape. No idea where they sent them. It's not the demon dimension, so no idea where they're going. And then right at the end of that, she threatens Donnie and his friend with a demon to make them comply with a cease and desist. I don't think that really holds much water in court, does it? So she goes back to her date, but when she's portaled in, she portals in above him and drops on him, arms either side, legs either side, as he's lying on the sofa. And next thing you know, she's carrying him to the bedroom. Again, it's very weird, because there seems to be a lack of consent in this thing. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of films with that kind of thing in it. Not an issue. And not an issue because she's doing it rather than the man doing it. It's just in this day and age, is that something that they want to promote, given all of the messages sent out these days? Just seems a little bit contradictory and hypocritical. Flash forward to the next day. Jen's made breakfast. The chap walks out, sees Jen, doesn't have a clue who she is, and she tells him that she's She-Hulk, not in She-Hulk form, and he's freaked out by that, makes his excuses and leaves. Again, you've got to question the morality of what she did. Yeah, I don't know. The main show finishes with a man turning up to serve papers on She-Hulk because Titania has trademarked the name She-Hulk and is suing her for misuse of it. Then mid-credit scenes are Wong and Madison watching Sopranos together, and Madison's talking about what kind of drinks Wong's had. It's not a good scene. The earlier scenes with Madison are much better. A bit of a mixed bag. There was some amusing bits. Madison was quite entertaining. Don and his friend were quite entertaining with their interaction. But lots of weird stuff. Obviously, every bloke's a douche, except for the odd one or two. Wong's an idiot, doing something he shouldn't be doing. I don't know what. The story's meaningless. The whole episode is meaningless. None of it makes sense. It contradicts things that have happened earlier. Jenny's now using She-Hulk to get dates, despite her earlier reticence to be She-Hulk. She's not only using She-Hulk to get a job and stay in a job, but she's now using She-Hulk to date. I don't know how I feel about that. It's a light-hearted thing, so I suppose it doesn't matter. But if the tables were turned and this was a male character, I'm pretty sure people would be screaming from the rooftops about it. Just to sum up, kind of a nothing episode. Had some amusing bits for a change. It's probably the episode that, for want of a better word, I've enjoyed the most. But lots of stupid bits that make no sense within the wider context of the MCU. On its own, in isolation, fine. In a broader context, it's quite damaging and quite stupid. Everybody in the show is in it for comedy. Wong, particularly because he's the one recurring character, but he's not really being Wong. But how does this impact the greater MCU? How do these characters interact when they go back into the MCU? How does She-Hulk work? Because you can't have the fourth wall breaks, really, when she's in the middle of an Avengers film. I think, as I said earlier, the writers don't even know what they wrote in the last episode, let alone have any actual idea of the greater context involved in what they're creating, or the universe it sits in. To be honest with you, it doesn't even feel like they can actually write real people. And that's bizarre. I'll leave it there, thoroughly bemused, and I'll just do a quick promotion of my comic, which is a 228-page noir supernatural graphic novel. It's available from my website, and the link is in the description below. Please like and subscribe, and thank you very much for listening. Peace out.